everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at the Stuff of Legend, the board game. Now, the Stuff of Legend is a graphic novel. In fact, in this board game, you get the very beginning of the first of the graphic novels. Unfortunately, it's not a finished set of graphic novels, and this is based on the first book, Book 1, The Dark, but it's fantastic. Essentially, it's set in the 1940s where a boy's father, who's at war, is pulled into the closet by some evil, nasty boogeyman. The boogeyman in the closet comes down and gets him. And his toys, who come to life just like Toy Story, although this is not lighthearted like Toy Story, decide, some of them, that they're going to go rescue him. Except once they go into the closet, they look like real people or a real bear or whatever. And it's vicious and bloodthirsty and very, very just over the top. But they're hunting down this boy. The different toys have faults, and unfortunately, there's a real possibility one or more of them might be traitors. Now, this is not spoiling a lot. This little graphic novel shows you that. In this one here, that's what this game is. You're just trying to move to the next section, move to the next book, to get off the board. But someone in your team, possibly more, is a traitor. Here's how it plays. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to pick which character they like to be. The characters have two sides. It shows what they look like as a toy and what they look like in the other world. So Quacker's here. My favorite is Max. Look at that evil bear, but he's just a teddy bear. They have a couple icons here that you'll use for tests, and then they have a special ability. So Max, when he performs an action, he can discard a card to kill an enemy in his space, a troop in his space. But they also have a disability here. A weakness, and here he has rage, and it says when one of his actions is stained. So there are some cards, action cards, that have the stain symbol on them. So when that happens, you will activate Quackers is naive, and the jester has arrogance, and the princess has pride. So you have to deal with both the positive and the negative effects. Now, this is going to matter. This is the board, and so the boy has been lost, and it's your job to find him. Now, to do that, you need to exit off the map. There are 4 discs that are going to be placed here. There are 7 discs in the game. You randomly will pick 4 and put them face down. To go off the board, you pick one of these, you'll go off the board at that number. If that number is the highest of the 4 numbers, you have a success. So here we have 1, 3, 7, and 2. So 7 is the highest number. However, so 4, 5, and 6 didn't make it in. So let's say this was 6 instead of 7. Then 6 would be the highest number. If 7 is in the game, then 7 is the highest number unless 1 is also in the game, in which case 1 is the exit to go out. So in this 1, 3, 7, 2, 1 is the exit. 6, 3, 7, 2, 7 is the exit. And 6, 1, 3, 2, 6 is the exit. It sounds more complicated than it is. It's the highest number, unless the highest number is 7, in which case it could be 1 if 1 exists. During the course of the game, players will have a chance maybe to look at these numbers, and you got to figure out how to get your group to one of those exits. So how are you doing that? Well, first of all, you got to realize there's a possibility that, well, not a possibility, there's a definite that one of you is a traitor, and there might be more than one traitor. At the beginning of the game, players will be given out loyal to the boy, loyal to the boogeyman, or other cards. There will be at least one card in this unused loyalty, and there are different game effects and things that can make things switch as the game goes by. If the boy is lost, then anyone loyal to the boogeyman wins. If the players win, then anyone loyal to the boogeyman will lose. The players are, like I said, trying to move to the exit, and they are doing that by moving through these locations. Each card on the board has a location card placed down, as well as an encounter card, or in some cases, more than one encounter card. Encounter cards are revealed when you're next to them. This one says, when encountered, add 1 troop to the space and discard this card. So we're just going to add 1 troop to that spot. This one adds 2 troops to this spot. And this one here adds a leader, kind of an annoying guy, this Drosselmeyer guy who's going to cause problems to players. Now, these people are going to try to fight them, and you'll have to fight them back. The location card isn't revealed till you move on it. Then you'll reveal the location card, and it will tell you this one's an extra space away from everything else. But once you move to a spot, you'll reveal all the cards that are next to it. So here's some more evil leaders. And if I go here, I'll add 2 ruined zoo encounters to this space and put the rope bridge. So this is the ruined zoo. And I found the rope bridge, which is the only way to get over here to the jungle. I'm not going to go through all these different encounters and locations, but some are tests that players have to do that can be positive. Some are some allies who will help you, but most of them are bad. Then players are going to take turns. Players are going to take turns using this board here, and you can use the cardboard standouts that come in the base game, but there's also miniatures in a deluxe game, so that's the one that I'm going to be showing you. On your turn, you'll pick a player to go, and each round, 3 different players will take actions. After they've gone, if there's any players who haven't gone, they go to exhaust it, and then 3 other players will have gone, and then we'll switch in and out. It's possible that there will be some mixing up depending on the number of players. So everyone's going to get the same amount of turns. So on a player's turn, they're going to take some actions. Some of the actions are printed right on cards. Players will have a handful of action cards. And there's also basic actions. But even to take a basic action, you need to discard a card. So there's all sorts of cards in the game. Some of them provide symbols only. These symbols are used when you take tests. Like this one here says, there's an action. You can move, ignoring an enemy in this space. For each of these green icons contributed to this action. So if I played this with this, or someone else could even play it together, I could ignore 5 enemies. There's a lot of cards that will let you fight and attack other enemies and kill those basic enemies. There are also cards that let you even kill off the leaders who are moving around the board, annoying you. If there's enemies in your space, you're kind of stuck there. So players are going to be trying to avoid enemies, or at least killing them, getting rid of them, because if they don't, players will start taking wounds. Whenever you take wounds, you'll be moving this icon over, which is going to make players discard cards, or flip the coin. Once you run out of cards, you'll need to draw back up to 7 cards, and you also have to flip the coin when you do that. Flipping the coin is bad. When you flip the coin, if it shows the boy side, you move the boy down 1 icon, and if you get him all the way down here to the bottom, the boy is lost. If you show the jester side, or the boogeyman side, not the jester, you draw the top boogeyman card. This is personal tension. It goes to someone else. It says, whenever I help someone else with an action, I take a wound. I am no hero. And these are all just nasty cards. You know, all players must reveal and discard any love of the boy cards they have in their hand. The player with this card can't vote. All kinds of things. You say, wait a minute, what do you mean by voting? Well, that's a pretty critical thing. So here's the deal. Many of the actions are going to be fighting enemies, and there's a lot of actions you can just do. But if you want to move on the board when it's your turn to take a basic action, you have to pick where you're going. Like, I'm going to go straight here into Brooklyn Creek. And then everyone votes on it. There's lots of actions, and even many of the cards will show an action on them, like this one here, which lets you move ignoring enemies, the one I showed you earlier. It shows that symbol there, which means you need to vote on that action. And you just need a majority, and if people agree, you'll go there. And that's going to even include going out the exit. So I'm going to try to get to a space or do something and get everyone to agree with me. And that's where you're going to have to convince people that you're the good guy. When you fight guys and everything, this is going to be, you have to keep careful of the attention level of the boogeyman himself. Now, this attention level will move up or down depending on different things. Sometimes if you move on a quiet path, it will go down 1. If you move on a noisy path, it will go up 1. Different cards will constantly move it up or down, especially if you are killing enemies. Wherever it is, it's going to show you the hit points of regular troops. So you want to get it down here to the bottom so they're easy to kill. Also, the number at the top will show troops that many spaces away, and leaders that many spaces away will start moving towards you and activating their special abilities. Now, that's pretty much it. You got to get out the right exit before the boy is lost, and to do so, you got to be careful, got to find the right exit, and convince the other loyal people to go with you. That's how you play. So when I was teaching this to a few people, they were surprised because when you put it out, set up all the pieces, they're like, wow, it's a big adventure game. Sort of. I mean, it's an adventure, don't get me wrong, and I think the theme comes out through this game, but it's really more of a game like Battlestar Galactica or a social deduction game where you're trying to figure out who these liars are. Now, the person who's a liar, or who's a traitor to Boogeyman are people, You have to be very cautious because you could be very blatant, like, I'm just trying to make us all lose. But if that happens, you don't want to do that. You want to be as subtle as you can because there are cards that you switch loyalty cards with other people. Now, those cards can be done sometimes just to figure out who the loyal people are. But if I see that the bad guy's about to win, I might quick switch with you so that I have the bad card, and then I win. So you don't want to be too obvious about it. And that's really kind of the whole point of the game. The whole point is playing cards, moving around. I really like the 4 token rule. That works really well. One of them's the way out. In one game I played, we found the 6. We're like, well, you know what? Let's just go for it. And let's hope that the 7 isn't in the game. And it wasn't. But that was a bit of a risk taking, right? Because we had only seen 3 of the numbers. We knew the 4th number could have been a 7. And actually, the other couple numbers, we didn't know if the people were lying or not. It can be very tricky in this game. There's going to be a lot of pointing fingers at other people. Are there any downsides to the game? Well, it's hard for the good guys to win. The bad guy can kind of sit back and sometimes and almost let things happen to most degrees and just do maybe a little stabbing here or there. You can act like a good guy. It's also a little easy for you might be found out. But I also thought that the voting, there's almost sometimes too many votes going on. Like, hey, I want to move here. Everyone vote. And I was like, good. And you almost sometimes you're like, I'm going to do this and this. Oh, that's right. I was supposed to ask for a vote. And I was like, oh, we're good with it. But you need to have official votes because there needs to be a time for someone to go, no. I think you're a traitor. I think you're taking us the wrong way. So that works well. The flipping of the coin, the moving the boy down is like dangerous, but the boogeyman cards are also bad. Bad things happen in this game. You could spend a ton of cards to do actions and make sure they work, but then if you do that, you run out of cards faster, which then makes you flip the coin. And as the coin goes down near the bottom of the track, it also reduces hand size, which makes so the game kind of can spiral out of control. It's not unbeatable. I've won it. And it's beatable. I mean, for the good guys, because the boogeyman side is certainly beatable. You can just hold things out. And I like it. It's not a very long game. It says in the box 60 minutes or 60 to 90 minutes. And I think that's pretty accurate. But it's a kind of game that you might come out the other side feeling just a bit exhausted. Like, what did we just do? Because there is so much voting and tension and stuff like that. And also, I think this kind of game works better with more players. Because the more players, the more traders, or who's a trader and who's doing this. All cards are discarded face down when you get rid of cards. So I'm like, well, I'm getting rid of this card to take a move action. You're getting rid of a card that helps everybody out a lot. Everyone goes together. Now, if you know the story, that will help more because you'll recognize these different leaders and people that will show up. But if you don't know the story, I don't think that's a problem either. You just get into it and you're like, we're toys and someone's a traitor. And that's it. And the boogeyman is sufficiently scary that you're going to be afraid of him. So it's interesting. I like it a lot. I think it's I mentioned Battlestar Galactica, but man, that's what this feels like. It really has the similar feel to that style game. There's not a ton of those games. There's a lot of social deduction games where you're trying to figure out who the bad guys are and who the good guys are. But this is that, but as a bigger, more grandiose game, which makes sense because Kevin Wilson, who designed Descent, is the designer of this, and he really likes theme and puts a lot of that into his games, and I think you can see that here. So this one's a 7 out of 10 for me. The graphic novel is a 10 out of 10, actually. But I think it works really well. It comes together, and if you're looking for kind of a successor to Battlestar Galactica or games like that, this is going to be one that you'll enjoy a lot. So there you go. I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.